We have embarked on reforming the CARICOM Secretariat and reviewing our integration architecture to enable us to better respond to the demands of now and the future. In that context, we also see the need to further revise the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. The treaty, which is the foundation instrument that determines our formal relations, have taken us thus far. We have recognized its limitations and are taking steps to enhance it. There are difficult questions which we must reflect upon as we go forward. How do we deepen our integration to give effect to the single economy and to strengthen foreign policy coordination? What impact would widening have on our ambitions of achieving a single economy and on foreign policy coordination? How do we simultaneously achieve wider Caribbean Sea convergence while deepening our integration? Given that we are a community of sovereign states, what are the most appropriate governance arrangements which we must put in place in order for us to realize our full potential as a community? Should sanctions be introduced as a means of enforcing compliance with treaty provisions and decisions? As is expected, despite our introspection, current events on the global scene will have an influence on development in the region. During this year alone, several critical international events will have an impact on the future course of developing countries, as well as the future of the planet. These include the Third International Conference for Financing and Development in July, the UN Summit on Post-2015 Development Agenda in September, and the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change in December. All these processes will have a significant policy and agenda-shaping impact on the nature of international development priorities and relations. They will also influence the forms and sources of assistance and resources available. Our vulnerabilities have been ruthlessly exposed by the various crises that have plagued the world since the first decade of this century. The food crisis, the energy crisis, the financial and economic crisis, and pandemics have all affected us adversely in different degrees. Indeed, the effects of the 2008 to 2009 financial and economic crisis are still resonating in our region. Further, we are faced with the existential threat posed by the effects of climate change. None of these crises, nor indeed the causes of climate change, emanated from within our shores or are due to our actions. The question is, how can we develop our societies and economies to withstand the effects of those exogenous shocks? They have become a permanent feature of our existence as small states with open, vulnerable economies and which are prone to natural disasters. Another backdrop against which this forum is taking place is the dynamism and increasing complexity of the hemispheric and international environment. This includes the shifts in the global centers of power economically and politically. The inward gaze and the economic difficulties of the developed world in the face of the crises have diminished even further an already shrinking pool of development finance. Many of our member states' access to much-needed development finance is lessened due to being classified as middle income. The use of GDP as a primary criterion for determining such access does not take into account the vulnerabilities which we constantly face. And Minister Dukuran is always reminding us that this is merely an arithmetic ratio and does not reflect the reality on the ground. Many Caribbean economies find themselves in a situation of paradox with low growth, high debt, fiscal deficits, and low domestic private sector investment, which coexists with a financial sector replete with resources. How can this paradox be brought to an end? Are there not sufficient investment opportunities in the region? Is there need to review the regional doing business environment? Or is there an epidemic of risk aversion within both the financial sector and our entrepreneurs? Failure to invest in our own future could be interpreted as a lack of confidence with a consequent effect on foreign investment. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot consider our future without taking into account the transformative role of innovation and technological change. In all spheres of life, information and communications technology is making a profound difference. Its influence stretches through all sectors and must be a key factor in driving the development of our human resources and increasing our competitiveness. Innovation, creativity, digital literacy, entrepreneurial attitudes, and skills are constantly being proven as platforms for growth and development. CARICOM has recognized these realities in its strategic plans. And most certainly, the voice of youth, as we've heard, must be brought to the table. We have a duty to consider the views and ideas from a group that comprises 60% of our population. A forum such as this is in essence discussing what kind of Caribbean our youth will inherit. Their clamor for an integrated region has been a constant theme during my interactions with them. The region, they say, is their home. It is where they want to live, work, and crucially, be involved in the planning and building of the future. Before closing, I must once again extend thanks to Minister Dukaran and the government of Trinidad and Tobago, along with the United Nations Development Program and UE, for making this forum possible. I also express appreciation to the government of Mexico and the Andean Foundation and other organizations for their support. It is my understanding that many thought-provoking papers were presented during the session at the St. Augustine campus yesterday. I look forward to today and to tomorrow, demonstrating quite clearly that the Caribbean's proud tradition of intellectual prowess is very much alive and can provide innovative and practical ideas towards the sustainable development of our region. In putting forward such ideas, we must take into account the baseline reality in the region if we are to bring to fruition the plans and policies which flow from such ideas. This must be the thrust of our deliberations. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Larocque, and let me just very quickly ask the Secretary General of the Association of Caribbean States, His Excellency Alfonso Manuera Cavalier.
Let me first to recognize the presence of Ambassador Edwin Larocque from the CARICOM, and also Ms. Frances Signoret, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I want not only to recognize the presence of the Vice Chancellor, Hilary Bakos, but to express my sincere admiration and gratitude because as most of you know, he's one of the greatest historians in the Caribbean, and probably, and I'm sorry that I have to say that, the greatest historian, Caribbean historian in our region. And happen that I'm also historian, and I have to say that probably 80% of the Caribbean history that I know, I owe to the book that Hilary Bakos have been reading throughout all of this year. Thank you very much. And I wish to thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and I dare to say my friend, the Honorable Winston Dukaran, for his wonderful idea in organizing this forum, and especially because during these 3 years, he has been one of the most enthusiastic supporters of the ACS and also of the whole idea of putting together the Caribbean and Latin America. And I want to thank also the organizations with whom we collaborated to make it a reality. I would like further to welcome all honorable dignitaries and diplomatic corps present, as well as other participants and attendees. We are convinced of the need to understand convergence as it relates to the consolidation of relations between the island Caribbean and the rest of the wider Caribbean. It is also important to consolidate relations with other organizations, no doubt. It is extremely important for the Caribbean and Latin America to fortify its relationship. This effort will produce very positive results and which will redound to the benefit of all. At the last meeting of the Ministerial Council of the ACS, Haiti was unanimously elected chairman for the period 2015-2016. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Haiti was of the view which the ACS Secretariat supports entirely, that the process to consolidate cooperation between Central America, Mexico, Venezuela, Colombia, and the insular Caribbean must advance. Intra-regional trade continues to be marginal, investment are small and lacking dynamism, and moreover, there are fundamental areas in which it is necessary to strengthen these ties. Climate change, for example, and it is increasing effect resulting in worsening natural disaster, and in particular, the tragic consequences for the Caribbean Sea. The good thing is that cooperation is on the way. And I can say we have been able to make significant strides in terms of putting together the Caribbean and Latin America. We do not forget that we are united not only by geography, means the Caribbean Sea, but I will emphasize also by history. The ACS has its own particular mission, and that is collaborating towards the realization of this type of dialogue for cooperation. We are very happy to participate in this important forum, which will serve as a guide for the future of convergence of all Caribbean people and Latin America. Let's just to say two things before ending. First, my appreciation of all the organizations that contributed to the realization of this important forum, particularly to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and I have to say, to the government of Mexico. Mexico made a substantial contribution to make possible this event. I emphasize that as a clear demonstration of the interest of Latin American countries to promote and collaborate in concrete terms to make the dialogue in the wider Caribbean possible. Second, I want to apologize in anticipation to all of you